my boss, Darlene Bird, wants to make sure that we get started on time. All right. We good? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's mayor debate. As Lancaster stands at the crossroads, we face some critical decisions that will shape the future of our city. From budgetary concerns, fiscal sustainability, and implications of the new home rule charter. Today's discussion will address the pressing financial challenges that will impact our city and every resident in our city. Additionally, the proposed sale of city-owned properties has generated some interesting debates. And these debates raise questions and concerns about economic development, public resources, and long-term planning. This debate is an opportunity for candidates to present their perspectives, offer solutions, engage with you, the community, on some of these pivotal issues. So thank you for joining us here today for this essential civic conversation. At this time, I'd like to introduce Pastor Brown to open it with a prayer.
Shall we bow before the Lord? Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for giving us this opportunity to come together, Lord, in the, Lord, just understanding of peace and justice, and God, realizing that you are in charge of all power and government, and that, God, it's your desire that all people would realize the blessing of freedom, the blessing, Lord God, of righteousness and justice, and that as we gather here today, we gather here, Lord, concerned about the city that you have given us privilege to live in. And we ask, Lord, that every question, every comment, everything that's said here today will be done, Lord, in honesty, would be done in openness, and that, God, every person's comments and every person's questions will be valued as you value all of the residents of Lancaster, the Lancaster community, Lord God, important. And so we thank you today for a peaceful and a blessed gathering. It's in the name of the one who has saved me and has blessed many of us gathered here today, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Brown. At this time, I'd like to introduce Miss Darlene Bird.
Hello. What we have done, we have invited our school board candidates just to come up and give 2 minutes and introduce themselves to you. They are running unopposed. So we're going to call up Dave Perry first. And this is the way they are on the ballot. That's the order.
First, I want to thank the organizers and especially Darlene Bird for inviting the school board candidates here to introduce themselves. For those I haven't met before, my name is David Perry, and I'm running for my 3rd term to be on the school board. I think the most important thing I can tell you about me is that I spent my life dedicated to education. The first job I had after college was working with middle school youth in Chicago. I've worked with high school students, and now my job is as a university professor. I think there's probably no institution in America that I value more than public education. As somebody who works in education, I know all the research that says how important education is to people, how it can empower them to make a difference in their lives. But more than knowing that research, I feel that research as somebody who has lived that story. My mom did not go to college. She was a single mom. Shout out to all the single parents here. There is no job harder in the world than being a single parent. She raised 3 boys on her own. All 3 of us then went on to college. She raised a university professor, my older brother who's a lawyer, and my younger brother who's a software engineer. Education changed our lives. But I'm also not naive to the fact that education is some like magic tool to change people's lives. There's lots of barriers to education, and while the School District of Lancaster has done a good job of eliminating some of those barriers, I want to continue to serve on the school board to make sure that we continue to eliminate those barriers and protect public education here at the School District of Lancaster. I want to make sure that every kid in our community goes to a school and is greeted with adults who care about them, love them, and want them to succeed in the world. So I hope that I can have your support, and that the school district, more importantly, can have your support going forward. Thank you.
Next, we will call Jen Eaton. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I thought I was down the ballot a little bit more. This is a really great opportunity to spend some time in front of you, introduce ourselves. My name is Jen Eaton. I am currently your school board president, and I have been on the school board since 2021. I decided to join the school board during COVID when I noticed the challenges and the barriers that Dr. Perry spoke about, and how they were limiting our students and our families in their growth. And what I know from my adult life is an interest and a drive to change agency and for justice and to work toward peace causes. And so I have dedicated my adult life working in Harrisburg initially, doing research for the Democratic Research Office and dealing with constituent issues, working on campaigns. I said I would never be a candidate, by the way, and here I am for my second time. I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and the community engagement work that I have done previously in Lancaster is really proving to be fruitful now while I'm on the school board. We have community partnerships that are flourishing. We are focusing on students holistically. I'm very, very proud to see the way our students are learning about social emotional health and regulation so that they can be their best selves when they learn, and that helps them to want to come to school. They succeed, they do better. It's pretty simple. I didn't have a lot prepared for this. As you can see, I am a little bit of a wet mess. Race Against Racism this morning, knocking on some doors. The reason why I thought being at the end of that ballot would be kind of fortuitous is because I'm a lead from behind kind of person. What you see is what you get. I have chosen to be in the community. I've chosen to take the partnerships, the knowledge and the relationships we have to continue to make the School District of Lancaster stronger. I'm proud of the work that we've done, and I hope that we can continue that. Thank you. Next, we have Louis Morales.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the help, the opportunity to come and introduce myself so thank you, Darlene, for that. My name is Louis Morales, and I'm running for my second full term. I joined the board in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, and as a parent of 2 children that have autism, I have navigated those waters, and I know that how it feels to navigate that, because it feels like you're alone, because every kid is individual, and I want to bring that voice, and I am bringing that voice to the board. It matters when it comes to special education. Also, I am a product of the School District of Lancaster. I went to Fulton Elementary, Reynolds, and I graduated from McCaskey. And I want to ensure that my kids all four of my kids have the same or more opportunities than what I had growing up here. I mean, I am on the board and serving my community because of the experiences that I had growing up and experienced here at McCaskey, from peer mediation to public leadership and service, small learning communities, what it was when I was in high school, with a focus on just serving. And this is my way of giving back after getting all that education from McCaskey. And I want to continue to ensure that that goes on and it's even better for our kids, because we need adults, young adults, to take our space and be leaders in our community. So that's what I hope to bring. Thank you.
And now we have Anita Pilkerton-Plum. Bill.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I am Anita Pilkerton-Plum. I am serving in an appointed role in the school board right now and running for my first elected term. What I want you to know is that I'm a fierce advocate for public education. I'm a public school graduate. Both of our children have come up through SDOL, and in the parent capacity, I've had a real joy in being a leader on PTOs, in PAC, with an after-school enrichment program and in booster clubs. And in my social work role, I started actually working here in Lancaster at the McCaskey Daycare and then the Teen Elect program, and I've had the opportunity to facilitate support groups in a variety of our elementary and middle schools. And in all, I've been working with students and families in our community for 30 years, which is hard to believe. One of the greatest joys I've had this year is in my school board role is being able to visit almost every building in SDOL. And anyone who believes that public education is failing has never been in an SDOL school building. Thank you. It's really awe-inspiring, the things that are happening in our school buildings right now. In particular, the implementation of the ruler program that's giving children emotional skills that help them and benefit them inside and outside of the classroom. The focus on increasing attendance rates, decreasing out-of-school suspensions, and really looking at every learner as a whole person, a whole student. And I'm really proud to be working with this amazing slate of candidates. I'm really grateful for your support, not just for me, but for our entire team of candidates who are in unity, working together to support the mission, the vision of our district and our strategic goals. A lot of good things happening, and we want to continue that path in some challenging times ahead. Thank you.
Can we give all of our four candidates, they are all running for 4 years, a hand? We do have one candidate, Denisha Gantz. She is running for a 2-year term. She had a family emergency and had to go away, so Jen is going to speak on her behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a prepared statement for her, but I do have a bio that we put on our Facebook page, and I hope it gives you a little bit of an introduction for her, to her. Denisha Gantz has lived in the heart of Lancaster City her entire life. She is the proud mother of 3 children, the oldest of which is pursuing a degree in sports medicine, while her younger 2 attend schools within the school district of Lancaster. This keeps her closely connected to the everyday experience of students and families in the district. A proud alumna of J.P. McCaskey High School, Denisha attended SUL schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. Having previous experience in leadership training and youth development, she brings a wide range of knowledge and lived experiences to her work, rooted in both her personal journey and professional dedication to the community. Denisha's passion for educating and advocating for youth, particularly those most impacted by the school-to-prison pipeline, was ignited during her time working at the Vision Quest Detention Center. There she witnessed systemic inequities and uplifting unserved voices. Firsthand the deep, there was an error there in the typing. Anyways, this experience shaped her lifelong commitment to addressing systemic inequities and uplifting underserved voices. Over the past several years, Denisha has transformed her passion into purpose through her work as a board member with the Spice of Life Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting youth development and providing critical community community resources. Denisha is steadfast in her mission to empower students and families, and she brings that same energy, compassion, and drive to her candidacy for the school board. She believes every child deserves a quality education, a safe environment, and the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce you to our moderator for this debate, and this is Kevin Ressler. A lot of you know him. He was the CEO of United Way. He also ran Meals on Wheels. He lives in our neighborhood. We consider him a friend and a neighbor. So if we can give him a hand as he comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you, all of you, for being here. We have a long debate ahead of us, and so I'm going to keep my opening remarks here brief, but I want to go over some rules of what we'll expect today, the debate format, and introducing the candidates, and then we'll be off. But before I do that, I want to first thank all of you for being here. Politics is hopefully a participation activity and not a passive one. There are people in this audience I know who will not be able to vote in this election for a couple of reasons. One of which is some folks here I know do not live in the city. But the power of Lancaster City, in part, is that it is a driver for the county. And what happens in Lancaster City matters for Lancaster County. And so for those of you who are taking an interest in an election that you cannot vote for but will impact you and your parts of our county community, thank you for being here. There are a few other folks who I see who I know will not be able to vote because they're not old enough. And I want to thank the young folks who are here, their children and teenagers that I can see who are here. Thank you for coming. And I hope that this inspires you for a lifelong engagement. I am aware that in this room, I'm going to name one name, and that is Kendall. When I ran for mayor 8 years ago, that young man right there came up to me and he said, I'm going to get emotional. He said, seeing you in the newspaper means someone like me who looks like me could be mayor someday. And a couple of weeks ago, he went and he spoke at City Council, and he has continued to be deeply engaged in his community. For those of you young folks, I want you to know that this is an opportunity for you to start your dreams of how you will impact your community as you get older. Thank you for being here. And parents, thank you for bringing your children here. And the last thank you is a big thank you to Darlene specifically, but the South End Concerned Neighbors and the Lancaster National Action Network chapter for hosting this debate. When we did this 8 years ago, we had 9 debates in 8 weeks. There will not be that many opportunities for folks to be able to connect with our candidates. And so I'm grateful for you taking the time, and I hope that you will share what you heard or what you will hear here today with your neighbors who are not able or not interested in being here today. It is very important that this election has participation because it is consequential, and we will get into many of those reasons. Housekeeping rules, bathrooms are out there. Feel free if you need to, not to wait for a break, but to head on out. We ask that you are respectful as audience members throughout this debate. Please limit applause and absolutely no negative booing or any other negative utterances. Have respect for our candidates. It is not easy to put yourself up to the community's rigors. They look at your personal lives, they look at your professional lives, and they criticize you. So before we begin, I want to just thank both of our candidates with a round of applause for your willingness to step forth, for your willingness to put yourselves as subjects for the community. And thank you both as city council members currently for what you are doing for our community. There will be a couple of sections I'm going to just briefly go over. We'll go over in detail how those rules work when we get there. But there will be opening statements. There will be a round of sent-in questions that they will have had already in advance. There will be organizer-prepared questions in round 2. And then there will be some audience questions from round 3 that will have been selected from the cards as you came in. Then there will be a lightning round of quick yes or no's and closing statements. So without any further ado, let's hop on into this. So we're going to begin on my near side, because it makes sense, with introductions. So Councilwoman Janet Diaz, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement. It should,
Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to make a statement. I have spent my years on council standing for the people, not for the party or the power structure. I didn't come here to play politics. I came here to serve, to be a civil servant. Sometimes that makes you a target. When you don't fall in line, when you don't join the club, the attacks come. But I'm not stepping down. I stand on work I've done and the people I fight for. Everyday neighbors, not insiders. I know who I serve, and I believe Lancaster deserves leadership that listens even when it's not popular, even when it's hard. I'll keep showing up, I'll keep telling the truth, and I'll never stop standing for the people who feel that no one is listening to them. I want to thank Nan for this opportunity. Good afternoon, Lancaster residents. Our city faces over $2 million deficit in 2025, driven by raising health costs, also expiring federal funds, and loans that continue piling up Lancaster and burning them. Home Rule Charter allowed a 1.6 earned income tax increase, which is $15.7 million, while county will increase also property taxes this coming year. That's something that people are not planning and they don't know. Utility fees have climbed between 19% to 43%. That's sewer, water, trash, stormwater. This is really costing our residents and making a serious budget issue. Many have asked me, how am I going to make it? I am struggling as well as seeing our elderly without being able to purchase their medicine or being able to pay their rent. Affordability is a crisis. Residents, including city employees that struggle to live here, the cost of outspace their wages, pushing some toward poverty. We must act equitably. The income tax is gotta be fair, scaling with earnings, but we need to relief programs to lower income families and workers. Together, we will balance our budget while protecting service like police and fire, ensuring Lancaster remains vibrant, affordable home for all of us.
Thank you, Janet. Real quick, I forgot to mention how the timekeeping will work. You'll see up here there's a yellow sheet that will tell you have 30 seconds left, and the red sheet means like wrap up that last sentence. Jamie, because I didn't tell Janet that she went a little over, feel free to just take that 2.5 minutes and you'll be fine. And then we'll follow the rules from then on because I've now told you how.
Yeah.
No, it's not your fault, Janet, it's my fault. So thank you, Jamie.
Be careful what you get me, Kevin. Well, good afternoon, Lancaster City. It's a privilege to be here with all of you today. Thank you to South End Concerned Neighbors, NAN, and Mr. Ressler for facilitating today's debate. Thank you, Councilor Diaz, for being here. It's a privilege to be here. I'm a kid from the southeast side of Lancaster City, and every time I'm reminded as to why I'm here in the city, I always have to think back to why my parents came here in the first place. And I was originally born in Puerto Rico, and my parents came here because of economic opportunity. It was a place where Lancaster City not only was welcoming for families, but there was affordable housing where you could get started, whether it was in an apartment or getting your first home. It was welcoming, so if you wanted to start your own business or have a good quality of job, you could do that right here in Lancaster City. And that all starts with leadership. And the person that assumes the role of mayor needs to be a leader that puts people first. And that's why I'm running for mayor. I grew up in the southeast side of Lancaster City, and when my parents bought their first home, we moved to the northeast. I graduated from McCaskey High School, so thank you to our school board directors here for putting in the hard work, for free, mind you, and making sure that our school districts are the best in the county. With that, as mayor, I want to continue on the work that we have been building. For 5 years now, I've been serving on Lancaster City Council. I'm the CEO of Assets, helping entrepreneurs, specifically women and BIPOC entrepreneurs, start and grow businesses right here in our community. I want to make sure on a macro level that housing is built and it's affordable. From shelter beds to affordable low-income housing to first-time home ownership opportunities. I want folks that want good quality jobs here can access those. And if you want to start a business in Lancaster City, it's affordable and accessible for you. And I want to continue the culture of Lancaster City being a welcoming community, access to resources, and also feeling safe, making sure that my son is able to cross the street, ride his bike without the fear of fast traffic going down. So I'm excited to take this next step for you, Lancaster City, and thank you so much for being here today. Thanks.
Thank you. So we're going to go into round one. Round one operates like this. The candidates will respond to a series of prepared questions that were sent to them in advance on key city issues. That's important for you all to understand. They have had time with round one questions to think these things through. They're not responding to hearing the question for the first time, which will come later. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond, and a reminder to the candidates that the longest response isn't necessarily the best one. So we'll be appreciative of you keeping to time and to the answers that you have prepared. Question number one. The biggest question on many Lancastrians' minds is the new home rule plan. Can you speak about your understanding of the new home rule and how it will be applied to Lancaster City? And we will begin with, we'll just alternate back and forth. So Jamie, you can go first this time.
Yes, so last year, Lancaster City made the historic move of passing the Home Rule Charter. The Home Rule was a process that for almost 2 years, a commission of 9 members decided to study and write a new charter for our city. And what did this do? Well, let me back up real quick. City Council, the mayor, the commission did not pass the charter. The residents of Lancaster City passed this charter by 70% of the vote. And that's a big deal, because what that does, it puts the city of Lancaster in a stronger financial position. Mostly, the city of Lancaster is remaining the same, but 2 key points that came from the charter. One is an ethics commission that is going to be made up of Lancaster City residents that will hold elected officials accountable to make sure that they're complying and being ethical as elected officials. The second thing is it removed the cap from their earned income tax. And what that did was allow us to be more equitable in the way we raise revenue to pay the bills of Lancaster City. I've never heard anyone tell me that they want less and worse in Lancaster City. They say, I want more and I want better. That costs money. But we can't continue to raise property taxes on everyone. So ensuring to make sure that taxation was equitable in our community, the earned income tax was a lot more equitable in raising revenue than property taxes. As chair of the Finance Committee this year for the 2025 budget, we left we left property taxes flat and we did not increase. And if things hold well over the next decade, we can expect that we won't have to raise property taxes to cover our bills.
Thank you, Jamie. And Janet Diaz.
Home rule allows Lancaster to make decisions that fit our city, not just follow one-size-fits-all state rules. This means we can craft policy that protect homeowners, fund essential services, and invest in our neighborhoods without asking Harrisburg for permission. For example, we can introduce target service fees like short-term rentals or large developers, so working families aren't stuck with the bill through property taxes and income tax.
Thank you. And so, Janet, the mic stays with you, and we will go to question 2. Recent, well-documented incidents between police and youth included what many saw as overly aggressive police tactics. In the most publicized case, the mayor and police chief Mendez waited 16 days before publicly addressing the issue at a media-only event. It was another 14 days before there was any public engagement, which occurred during the April 1st City Council meeting when Chief Mendez presented, among other issues, the use of force policies, with Mayor Sirachi in attendance but not presenting. While hypothetical situations have their limits, the question is, how would you have handled that incident had you been mayor at the time?
As a mayor, in moments of crisis, people want honesty, not silence. Within 48 hours, I would have publicly acknowledged the incident, comment to the transparency review, and invite residents to a forum that includes community voices, not just official, beyond one event. I'd work to establish regular accountability sessions to trust isn't something that we only try to build when it's broken.
Thank you. Councilman Arroyo?
Yeah, I remember seeing the video for the first time that weekend once it was released and making its rounds on Facebook. And, immediately, maybe the next day, we put out a statement. So as mayor, I think it's important to acknowledge the conversation that's happening in the community. As mayor, I would have done as I did as a city councilor, is put out a statement acknowledging that something is happening, right? But it's also important as a leader to make sure that you're not rushing to conclusions, understanding that it's important to hear different sides, what happened, and allow investigations to take place. I think along the way, what could have been helpful as that process would have played out is making sure that we're educating the public along the way and how do these processes play themselves out, right? Sometimes this takes time. What does the research look like? What does reviewing body cam footage look like? This stuff takes time. However, it's important to communicate that process to the community, ensure that they feel that they're with you along the way and they don't feel that there's silence and something's not being communicated along to them. I got a few more seconds, so I'm going to take it. But the one thing I want to point out as well is that it's always opportunities to improve upon what's happening. So whether that's pointing people out to where the data is located on our website, which has made improvements, but then also clarifying definitions. What is use of force and what does that process look like? Making sure that we point residents to where they can find that informational pieces on our website is important. Thank you.
Thank you. So for some of those of us who are older, we remember that the city in the past had a public service director. This role oversaw the police, fire, and health departments as mayor. As mayor, will you appoint a public safety director? Why or why not? We'll begin with Councilman Arroyo.
I'm definitely open to the conversation in hiring a public safety director. I think the one point that gives me a little caution, or a couple points, is one, we just talked about the finances of the city. Hiring another director in the mayor's office adds to that cost, and making sure that we're not continuing to add management levels, that one, adds to our budget, but then two, it creates a barrier to having direct responsibility and accountability to both bureaus, whether it's fire or police. As mayor, I want my hands in it. I want to make sure that I'm working directly with our chief of police, our chief of fire, to make sure that as we're making improvements and working with our community, that I am hands-on, and having a director sometimes can feel like a barrier to working with them. So I'm open to having the conversation. I think it doesn't hurt, but especially my first term as mayor, I want to make sure that I'm working directly with both chiefs in that capacity.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Diaz.
Yes, I'd appoint a public safety director, but with a clear mandate to unite efforts across the police, fire, and health services while staying accountable for the people. This role should strengthen the coordination and also ensure the public input and community safety data directly shapes how we respond to the crisis. This also has the opportunity to eliminate the waste that we have, that I have seen personally. This way, we could appoint a public safety director.
Question 4. Now, both of you are currently city council members, so you're part of city government, but we know that the administration is seen as the mayoral administration. And so the question for both of you is, what would you do differently from the current administration, especially when it comes to responsiveness and listening to residents? Councilwoman?
As a mayor, I would say that people deserve to know their voices matter. My administration would acknowledge every message within 24 hours, provide a track number, and commit to a full response within 3 to 5 business days. But this isn't just about system, it's about people. We've trained the staff to treat every resident with respect, urgency, and follow through. It's really important to have staff respond to people. Many times I have heard constant that nobody is responding to their emails, no one responds to their phone calls, and that I am the only person that responds to them. They have come to city council meetings and mentioned that. This is why it's really important as a mayor that I will follow through in responding to everyone's needs, regardless of the urgency.
Thank you. Thank you. And Councilman Arroyo.
Yeah, one of the things that excites me about taking on a role like this is the opportunity to engage with residents. As the leader of the city hall, you don't always know everything, so it's important to making sure that you're hearing directly from residents on how things can be better. A couple of things that I would like to institute new would be regular town halls throughout all quadrants of our city to make sure that the residents have more opportunities to engage with not just their elected officials, but also the directors and other city employees that are actually making the decisions and on the front lines doing the work. When we can have regular engagement outside of city council chambers, that just helps build trust and has a lot of people get more buy-in into the process. The second thing is education on where they can find resources. So our city website is one of the best websites in the county. There's so many resources out there. We have a Fix-It app, which is amazing, except residents don't always know about it. So how do we continue to raise awareness about the resources that are accessible to residents so that way they don't have to wait for an email response. They don't have to wait for a phone call. They actually know where to go and get that information. And then the final thing is youth engagement. So having the opportunity to get youth engaged at the school district level is super important. I got to speak at Lincoln Middle School the other day, and it was so cool to hear students talk about how they can get involved. And the younger that you're able to learn about the resources that are available to you, the more able and willing you're able to access them and use those resources.
Jamie, I want to ask you a real quick clarifying question. You mentioned that you would have town halls in the quadrants. Would you also in the annexes?
Yes, sorry. Throughout the entire city.
Yeah, I just wanted to... Some people see those parts of our city differently. So. Question 5, how will you build stronger connections between city government and residents in every neighborhood, not just during elections, but year-round? And what tools would you use to include those voices left out of the urban planning discussion? Both of you have said this a little bit in your last, so if you want to expound on that at all. Councilwoman, you have the microphone. Feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. Government shouldn't show up just during election seasons. I want every resident, no matter the language, income, or internet access, to feel and seen and heard year-round. From multi-language town halls to text messages feedback to actually have ambassadors for each neighborhood. We'll meet people where you are. That's how we build Lancaster to reflect everyone's vision, not just a loudest voice. Lancaster needs people to listen to them. I have gone to different sectors of the city. I have knocked on their doors, even when it's not election day, and they confide in me. I love when they say, Janet, come in and have a cup of coffee. That is the best time to really listen to see what is happening in our community. Just recently, someone told me that they were scared to call the police. Someone literally pulled out a gun at her and said to go back inside her home. This is not Lancaster City. This is what I constantly hear, that we need to work on our safety. So yes, working with our community and having ambassadors in every section that we know what's happening in their neighborhood.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So to expound a little bit on what I had mentioned in the last question, there's a couple opportunities that you have to engage directly with residents. And one of the things that I love about election season is actually canvassing. You go door to door, you knock on doors, and you talk directly one-on-one with neighbors to share your vision, but then also hear about what are the particulars about their neighborhood that they care deeply about. One of the things I had the opportunity to do is when the city received their grant for the lead abatement program in the city, there was a lot of mistrust between residents and City Hall of really understanding that there was free money for them to get lead removed from their house. So city employees, along with myself and other council members, went and knocked on doors to communicate this program and talk with neighbors about this resource that was available to them. One of our bureau chiefs, James Nixon, constantly goes on walking through neighborhoods with different resource partners, not just from City Hall, but also in the community and other nonprofits, so that way you can talk to neighbors and see what is it that you need, what resources can help you and your family or your neighborhood specifically. So sometimes it's just going out there and walking the beat, right? And I think that's an opportunity outside of election season to continue to knock on doors, share resources, talk directly with neighbors, so that way you can build that trust with our community.
Thank you. I'll stay with you, Councilman Arroyo. Question 6. So this is the last question of round 1. Union contracts are the single most important opportunity the city has to get policy concessions from both fire and police departments, including policy agreements such as dismissal processes of underperforming or disciplined officers or firefighters. How would you approach these negotiations? And what, if anything, would you fight for and hope to achieve for the city?
Yeah, I think when it comes to negotiating union contracts, it's important to understand what's fair, not just for the residents, but for the employees themselves. So as mayor, you're the manager of a 600 employee organization. The unions, whether it's police, fire, and also AFSCME, we have almost 200 employees that are part of that union as well. And they want fair wages. They want good benefits. They want to be able to retire comfortably and safely to pay for their livelihoods. So it's important that as mayor, it's not an us against them when we're negotiating contracts. It's looking for a unified benefit that not only allows them to have a good quality job, it allows them to serve our residents to the best of their ability. They're the ones on the front line making sure that our residents have a good quality of life, that they feel safe, that fire department is able to respond to a fire in a timely manner. That starts with negotiating a fair contract. So while it's hard to get into the details in a hypothetical, I will say the one thing that I will fight for as mayor is that it's fair for all parties involved, so that way everyone leaves the table feeling that it's a win-win situation.
Councilwoman Diaz.
Yes, strong unions are vital to the safety of the city, but accountability is too. I negotiate with mature respect, but push for reform like clear, just cause definitions, 90 days appeal timelines, and perform evaluation with community oversights. If we get it right, we'll have a safer street, more public trust, and departments that are proud of their high standards. Aim to balance fair labor terms with policy that enhances departments' efficiency and public trust. For somebody like myself that has been in the union for 10 years, IBEW, I fought for those that were going to get their union points away from them. That's the police and fire department, which would have affected about 12 people of color and the only firefighter woman. This is not acceptable, and this is why, as a mayor, I would fight for all employees, not just the administration.
Thank you both. So, round 2. We're a little warmed up. We're going to loosen it up a little bit. So in this section, in addition to the 90-second responses they will have, if they mention a policy or something from the other candidate, they will have one 30-second opportunity to respond to that comment that they would have been named to. I will moderate this part, but you need to still watch your timekeepers on the 30 seconds. But we'll try to make sure that we keep it respectful. I think both of you can keep it respectful. It's about policies, not personalities. And so thank you both for this section. This section will have 12 questions, and so we will work through this, but excited to open this up for you all a little bit as we're going into these. Audience, reminder, this section begins, they have not had these questions before. The previous section, round one, they had the questions ahead of time to think about. This will be the first time they're hearing these questions. We'll begin with Councilwoman Diaz, since you finished the last question. And here's your first question. How will you ensure that internal police investigations are transparent and fair in a city without an independent review oversight board?
I'm still adamant as a mayor to have a board that's I would say at least 9 people in the community that can sit and have an advisory board, just like in Harrisburg. There's a bill that I did bring forward, but has been completely ignored. So therefore, that is the number one thing that we should do. If Harrisburg can bring an advisory board for the community, then I believe that it should be done.
Councilman O'Reilly.
And just to clarify, this is without a civilian review.
Yeah, so the question, and also if you, because you haven't heard these before, if you need me to reread the question, if you're going second, let me know. But yes, it is, how will you ensure that internal police investigations are transparent and fair in a city without an independent review oversight board?
Thank you for that. So the first things first is that as mayor, you're responsible for building a strong team around you. That includes the chief of police. So as the chief of police and his team is looking to do investigations, you want to make sure that you are putting strong personnel in charge of those internal reviews to make sure that it is a good process. Data transparency is always key, so making sure that we are able to be transparent around the data around use of force incidents, any investigations that have happened over the years, and making sure that that is readily and available to the public is important. And then the third thing is education. Again, I mentioned before that it's important to educate the community on the process of these, whether it's internal review or whatever it might be, to make sure that they're following along and they're able to ask the right questions as we're sharing this information. A lot of times when we go through the process, the community isn't aware of that process and it's hard to follow along. So in order to hold people accountable, you are transparent not just with your data, but with your process as well.
Thank you. Oh, doing great. Nice, respectful claps afterward. Appreciate it. Thank you. But question 2, JB, we'll stay with you for this one. Will you, in the first 100 days, direct the Department of Community and Economic Development to come up with a plan for the Southeast area where residents would have input? Why or why not?
So we actually have a plan right now. It's the comprehensive plan that City Council voted, I believe it was about 2 years ago, for the entire city that includes the Southeast. We also have an interim housing strategy that includes the entire city, including the Southeast. And we have a Parks Master Plan that includes the entire city, especially the Southeast, which we're actually looking to invest in 3 new parks. Or I'm sorry, not 3 new parks, 3 existing parks and making improvements there in the Southeast. However, what I'd look to do in the first 100 days is make sure that we go through all quadrants, including the Southeast, to say, how would you like to see this plan implemented? So a plan is great, but how it's executed is important. And it's making sure that we implement this plan with the buy-in of the residents of the community, make tweaks as necessary, and if there's any changes that need to be made, we can do that. But it's important to how you do something is just as important as the why.
Thank you. Councilwoman Diaz.
The Southeast have been neglected for years. They have heard it over and over and over again. We need to stop the gentrification. We need to assist our community and engage with them by educating them exactly how many properties they want to take away from the Southeast.
That's right.
This is not acceptable.
That's right.
We need to educate them. We need to let them know every policy that's affecting them. We have not had roads fixed.
That's right.
I know because I drive into the southeast constantly. So the first thing I would do is to engage every resident in the southeast and say, what is it that the city is not doing for you, and execute it right then and now.
Thank you. Mr. Russell, if I could respond to that?
Sure.
Thank you. So we mentioned about what has the city done specifically for the Southeast. So I grew up in the Southeast. I know that the history of the Southeast being neglected in our community, that is a fact and something that we need to acknowledge. What I will say is that over the last few years, we have invested in the community and will continue to do so in an equitable way. One of the things I was excited about to lead as the counselor or the chair of the Economic Development Committee is using ARPA funds is $10 million in affordable housing projects, as well as $5 million in community facilities projects, all nonprofits that were directly south side of Lancaster City. So there are a lot of opportunities that we could get better in, but we are working hard to make sure that happens.
Thank you. Question number 3. How will you ensure that Southeast residents don't continue to be left out of major infrastructure investments like parking, lighting? Would you commit to bringing more parking infrastructure, like a parking garage or a shared lot, to the Southeast neighborhood during your term, such as the lot on South Plum Street between Dauphin and Green Streets? Councilwoman Diaz, we'll begin with you. I'll just saunter over, steal the mic, and then hand it back to you all so we keep things moving. So really quickly again, how will you ensure the Southeast residents don't continue to be left out of major infrastructure investments like parking and lighting? Would you commit to bringing more parking infrastructure like a parking garage or shared lot to the Southeast neighborhood during your term, such as the lot on South Plum Street between Dauphin and Green Streets?
As a mayor, I will definitely invest in bringing more parking. I'm going to give you an example. We had Mrs. Dixon, over 2 years ago, requested to have 10 parking lots on North Street where she lives. And this is the granddaughter of Nelson Polite. She sent me an email. Over 2 years, it was back and forth, and then it just went dead. At that time, she brought even the design on how these 10 parking spaces would be able to help those in that community because it's very small in North Street. That's one thing I will start, number 1, to put on my list so we can do the project and not continue ignoring our residents in the Southeast. She had already requested funding. SACA had said $100,000, and all she wanted, this is ARPA money that was ignored when she requested it. So now, Mrs. Dixon, that's one thing we can target because you already have it set.
Yeah, I remember growing up and my parents are here, so this is hilarious because I think about my dad always complaining about parking when we were in the Southeast. Some of the time we lived was in Garden Court, so we were lucky to have some of the parking lots there, which was nice. So it's thinking about how do we have shared spaces that we can park our cars when we are living there. So helping to facilitate some of those conversations, whether it's with churches or businesses that have those opportunities, that we can work together with our neighbors to make sure that they have access to those parking lots. I will say I'm not interested in building parking garages in the Southeast. And the reason is because we have the housing crisis right now in our community. Where there are empty spaces or opportunities to build, I want to build housing. I want to build affordable housing. And that is putting people before cars. And again, putting people before cars means making Lancaster City a more walkable city, safer, so that way you don't have to own a car. I am very excited about thinking of a Lancaster City or a future for Lancaster City that if you want to own one car or no cars, that is obtainable. One of the toughest part of a family's budget is not just your household or your housing expense, it's your car expense, right? It's the gas you spend, it's the garage that you're paying for. So I don't want to add more expenses to your budget. I want to alleviate some of that pressure, and by making a city that's more walkable, the Southeast will benefit the most from that, and that's what I want to actually put my efforts towards.
All right, great. Yeah, parking garages are expensive. They're about $40,000 per spot. Affordable housing is about $300,000 per unit. Yeah, those are real numbers. Either way, you're talking about significant investments, regardless of what you do. And so for the next question, the question is, right, so these types of initiatives, regardless of what you do, all will cost some form of money. And of course, the way that we generate revenues through some form of tax. The question that we have here is, why haven't you fought to use property tax exemption and earned income exemption options for lower income residents during your time on council? We'll begin with you, Councilman Arroyo.
So with the earned income tax exemption, one of the opportunities that we had was this past year with the passing of the Home Rule Charter. That did come up. One of the challenges was that we didn't know how the charter was going to affect us in our first year. So one of the things that we are looking at is how do the numbers look like when they come in, and how does our budget balance at the end of the year. But I will say that before being mayor, as a councilor, I am committed to fighting for an exemption for low-income residents from the earned income tax.
So real quick, just follow. You are saying as a sitting councilman, you're committing to exploring the tax exemption options
Absolutely.
that have already currently existed.
Absolutely.
From here to enter. Okay, thank you. Janet, do you need the question again? Or are you good?
I got it, hon. Well, I can say that as a city council person, I had brought that forward, and even for discussion, and nobody wanted to even vote for the discussion. So therefore, we can't keep telling our community that we're going to help them by ignoring anyone that brings forward a policy that can do some kind of rebate for those that need assistance. And I'm looking at so many residents that are elderly as well. They need to be heard. How many times have I brought forward to bring down the price of income tax? And I think it was last year to at least budget it into 3% every other year to help our community. So therefore, yes, I have already spoken about that, and I'll continue fighting for it.
Now, Councilman Arroyo, so, she didn't name you by name, but she said she has fought. The question was, why haven't you fought? This was an option pre-home rule. This was an option that could have been done. It was not and has not been done your time and before. She said that she has fought for that and that she didn't get support from any other council individuals. That would include you. So please feel free to respond. 30 seconds.
As I mentioned, as a mayor or city council, I'm chair of the finance committee. One of the important jobs you have is managing the budget, right? So as the charter was passed, we still needed to figure out how those numbers were going to look like coming in, right? And one of the things that I will say is that specifically for elderly residents, if you're retired and on a fixed income, specifically Social Security, you're not getting charged an earned income tax. This is earned income from employment wages. So that is incorrect that someone that is on a fixed income or living off of Social Security that's retired was being affected, negatively impacted by that. That's not the case. So this was the year to see how do the dollars roll in to pay for the expenses of the community. As I mentioned before, we were trying very hard not to cut expenses, because when we start looking at cutting expenses, that means services and jobs, and making sure that we understand how to manage the budget appropriately.
Thank you.
Is the number one job of the mayor and city council.
Question 5. What initiatives will you invest in specifically for youth and teens, especially after school, during summer, and on weekends? Councilwoman Diaz, we'll begin with you.
believe that the PAL program through the police initiatives that they have been using, I'm very excited that I had the opportunity to take the Citizen Police Academy, and that's when they introduced the program. And I think if we invest more money, we can have an engagement where the police and the youth will learn how to work together. They'll be able to feel comfortable that police are not a threat to our community, but that they're our friends. When I grew up, I knew who my police was in my neighborhood, and it's extremely important for us to continue investing in our police programs and others that are like the Mix, the Girls and Boys Club, because those are really important in our community for our youth to have, especially after school, since most of our parents, single parents in the Southeast, can't afford even childcare.
Thank you. Jamie, yeah, go ahead.
So one of the assets we have in Lancaster City is the Lancaster Recreation Commission. So I grew up playing some sports there and had the privilege of serving on the board on the Lancaster Rec. I think having a stronger partnership and investing more dollars with the Lancaster Rec is important because they don't just provide those recreational services or help with our parks. They actually provide childcare services as well for city residents. So having a stronger partnership with them, opening up more childcare spaces for city residents is one of the ways that we can help our city residents when it comes to care. The second thing I will say is utilizing our neighborhood engagement department with more youth. I love the idea of a mayor's advisory council that engages youth from the school district of Lancaster to get to participate civically, learn about the different commissions and authorities that exist within the city, but then also make sure that we're investing them early so they have a good understanding of local government.
Thank you. Are you sure you didn't see my questions? That one goes right into the next one. This is a great lead-in for you. So, Councilman, we'll start with you on question 6. Do you believe neighborhood groups should have more formal input in city planning decisions? Why or why not? And how would you make that happen?
Another asset of our community, most quadrants and even if you're a part of the annex has these different neighborhood groups that exist like South End Concerned Neighbors. I think engaging them in the process more formally, I think as things are being developed, is a good idea. I think it allows us to get leaders within the community to be a part of the process, communicate to their neighbors that maybe aren't as engaged throughout it. But I would definitely welcome the input from neighborhood groups. I mentioned earlier that town halls are one of the things that I hope to do on a regular basis. One of the ways I want to do that is actually tapping into the neighborhood groups. They have a following. They have a group that's engaged, and they're the champions for their neighborhood. So whether it's through town halls or when there's a new initiative that the city's pushing out, how can we encourage residents through neighborhood groups to be more involved in the process?
Thank you. Councilwoman Diaz?
I do believe that the more groups we have and the more we reach out to our community, that we can have our children and our teenagers be part of it. A lot of them want a school or an engaged after school so they can get tutoring, and that's really important. Some of our children cannot read. Some of our children are not able to even communicate because they don't speak the language. I think it's extremely important to have groups where they're multilingual and that they'll feel comfortable in making decisions whether they want a park or whether they want a skateboard it's installed or if it's a racket club. That's really important to find out what they want in their area where they play. It's very important for us to engage our community, but many of them don't even open the doors anymore because they're afraid. But if they look like me, they definitely know that the mayor of Lancaster looks like them, and that is very important for us to continue working with our neighborhood.
Thank you. So I told you there's 12 questions. I'm going to actually consolidate a couple of these for brevity, and they have some similarities, so we'll snap them together. This next question is going to move us a little bit into some conversation about housing. And so the question I have here for you is, what policies or processes would you change regarding housing density, mixed use, options to be able to help with the housing in the neighborhoods? And again, we're here at a Southeast Forum, so thinking in that neighborhood area. And we will begin with Councilwoman Diaz.
We do have a housing crisis, and it's really important to engage in providing enough resources for them to be able to purchase. But not only that, but to have investors that really care about the low-income housing. We've had so many through the years say, yes, we're going to provide it. And then when the time comes, they do not provide low-income housing, not even moderate-income housing. So we will continue working with investors that have a heart for the community. Those that know that moderate to low income are not able to live in our city because they just cannot afford it. So we will continue working with investors. We will continue working with other opportunities, opening maybe like an infrastructure bank where our community can invest money to help build low-income housing in our community. Especially some of our elderly, those are the ones that I'm very concerned about because they are living paycheck to paycheck. And by the way, there are elderlies that do work. In fact, my mother's right here, who I adore. She's 75 years old, and she is still working because she's trying to make it. That's how some of our community members are living, and that is including the elderly that work.
Thank you. Councilman?
So we're entering a great opportunity right now. As I mentioned, the comprehensive plan was passed. Right now we're going through our zoning ordinance to look at zoning throughout the city. I think encouraging more mixed-use space throughout our community is going to be important to encourage density, specifically in residential areas. So that's a huge opportunity that we're embarking on now, but will continue to happen over the next few years. One of the things that I'm very excited about doing is really looking at our processes and technology within City Hall. Sometimes City Hall can be its own bottleneck when it comes to development or issuing permits to housing developers. So that way we can get building and get these units online faster. So as mayor, I want to make sure that we're looking at those processes and making sure that we're streamlining, looking at more efficient uses of our technology, and making sure that we're able to get these things happening quicker. The other thing that we don't talk about a lot is workforce housing as well. I want to work with developers to think about how do we look at workforce housing. I was talking to actually a city employee who works in our public works department, and she was telling me how she had to move outside of the city. This is a city employee that can no longer afford to live in Lancaster City. So I want to look at opportunities for workforce housing so that way folks that are serving our residents can actually live here in Lancaster City and enjoy the benefits of it too. So looking at different types of housing as mayor and making sure that we have the processes and technology to make it happen quickly is important.
Councilwoman, if you'd like to have a response to that, that's fine.
Piggyback what Arroyo was saying. Yes, our employees had to move out of the city. And I think it's really important for us to have an incentive for those employees that work for Lancaster, because it's not fair to them that they have to travel back and forth wasting gas, and it's not fair to them that they work for the city of Lancaster, but yet they can't afford to live in Lancaster.
Right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to pull three different questions here together that are about policing. And so bear with me as I try to be a little clunky here, but the three questions are essentially about Citizens Review Board, which we've had some commentary on, so we're not going to focus on that, but just feel free that's a part of this. And within that is about whether or not we need more officers, better trained officers. How are we thinking about the quality of our officers, and how are we working with the training and oversight? And the last one of the question is about community policing. So putting these three together, trying to formulate a question, I'm thinking, how are you thinking about the philosophy of policing? And in that philosophy, do we have enough officers? Do we need more officers? Or do we need different types of officers? So is that clear enough for both of you? Okay, great, thank you. So we will begin with Councilwoman Diaz.
Like I mentioned before, I did bring forward Bill 81 that Harrisburg had put past, basically. And that's related to the Citizen Review Board. So yes, I do agree that we need our citizens to be part of the decision making. Obviously, we have to follow the policies. We have to follow the police state policies as well as the union. I feel that one of the ways to have the police engage with our community, just like in New York City, you have to hit the beat. That means you have to go to the community, knock on their doors, and talk to them. Let them feel safe. I think that the most that I recall as a child, which I was very young when I moved here, is that I knew who the police was because they lived in my neighborhood. They lived in the same building, and I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable enough that when they stole my dollar when I went to get the bread, I was able to say, hey, somebody took my dollar. And I was really small at that time. So it's really important that they are walking the streets and talking to the community. It's not that we're trying to ground them and say, hey, this is not something that you're going to be comfortable with, but I think it would be something that our community needs. In relations to, what was the second? I think it was.
I made it up.
Okay.
Sort of philosophy of police. Go ahead.
Okay, now I got it. In regards to more officers, I think we should have more officers because there are some that are working 12 hours. And it can be very exhausting. I think anybody that works 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, is exhausting. It makes them feel uncomfortable emotionally and physically. They also need a break. So that's one thing that I, as a mayor, would push forward as policy for them to get rest and that we have more policing.
You? Please.
I'm going to try my best to wrap all that into an answer. But yeah, I think it's, policing is always a conversation, and quite frankly, it should always be a conversation when we talk about, the folks that are in charge of the safety of our community, or part of it. When I think about policing in our community, policing has changed. A lot of the challenges that our police officers are facing currently may not need a police officer to address that challenge, right? Whether it's someone dealing with mental health challenges or someone that's unhoused or someone that just needs other resources. So when I think about investment in city employees, one of the things that we did over the last couple of years is do an analysis on how many officers do we actually need. That number has come down, so we actually budgeted for less officers. However, we're still short-staffed. What I would like to see happen is more recruitment happening specifically from city residents. I would love to see a stronger push in recruiting School District of Lancaster graduates to come and work within the public safety department. Police officers and firefighters. I have a lot of friends that are firefighters, and it's a great paying job. It's an opportunity for the neighborhood to have folks that are in charge of their safety come from those neighborhoods and know the residents that live there. So that to me is very important. But again, I want to emphasize the point in investing in other resources outside of policing. Policing isn't always the answer, and sometimes when we think about the challenges that we have faced recently, it comes from not having other wraparound services to also not just help that resident, but also help the police officer that probably doesn't want to be engaged in that engagement right now. They're not always the best suited for that situation.
Thank you. All right, I've had an opportunity to begin to look at the submitted from the audience questions, and they cover the last two questions that we had in this section. So I'm not going to ask the final two from round two because they'll be covered in this next section. So for round three, moving into this round three section, audience member questions have been submitted. I'm pulling some of them together. Some will be asked independently. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. And so, again, we had these submitted as people came in. Darlene and I have looked at them, and we're going to do our best here. The first question, which has to do with affordable housing. The specific question from the audience is, what steps do you have in mind to deal with affordable housing? But I want to add into that the issue of the city and the county aren't always on the same page with regards to housing and those issues of zoning and those types of things. So I want to hear what you are interested in doing with affordable housing, but I want to make sure that you add in how that relationship with the county and the city is a part of that, because it's a necessary component to solving affordable housing crisis. And we will begin with Councilman Arroyo.
So when it comes to affordable housing, it is the top issue that comes to mind whenever I talk to neighbors in our community. One of the ways that I want to address it is looking at how do we work with developers that are interested in building affordable housing and creating more streamlined processes for them to get building in a more affordable rate. So one of the challenges when it comes to our land development process is that it can be convoluted for developers, so it makes it even more expensive for these units to get built. So in order to make sure that these developers that are interested in building low-income affordable housing, how do we make sure that we can streamline this? And that doesn't mean sacrificing quality. That just means being more efficient within City Hall. So that's one of the priorities as mayor that I'm looking to make sure that I accomplish. The other thing is that the city doesn't build housing, right? We just make it we just create the opportunity for developers to come here and build. I want to make sure that as mayor, you have to be ready to make those investments. As city councilor, when ARPA funds came in, one of the first things we did was allocate $10 million in affordable housing projects in new and existing units. So making sure that you have a mayor that's ready to jump on these opportunities, it's super important. And then working with the county is making sure that we work with other municipalities for a housing strategy.
Thank you. Yeah, there we go. We all have a part to play. Thank you for the respectful applause, and we'll go to Councilwoman Diaz.
I believe that the past few years they kept saying that they were giving us affordable housing. That was not correct. Everything was market price, let's be real, to the community. Second of all, there are policies that New Jersey brought forward. They were able to pass a policy that every 5 units that a developer would bring forward, if they were not providing affordable housing, that they would have to pay at least $180,000 per unit to the city in order for them to help with that funding. We could provide assistance or at least give that amount of money to some of those that need assistance monthly to pay their rent. So this is another way of helping those in our community. We have developers that are willing to do it, but at the end, they say, well, sorry, I can't help you. So we have to speak honest to our community. If you're not going to give us the affordable housing, then don't say it's going to be affordable, because affordable is market price.
Well, I'm going to wrap it in the next one. So Councilman Arroyo, you were sort of addressed there, but it's going to work really well with this next question. So we'll start with you, because this next question is, the cost of everything is on the rise. People are struggling to make ends meet. What will you do differently than the current administration to address the affordable housing crisis here in Lancaster? Be as detailed as you can. So with Councilwoman Diaz having said that promises were made, let's keep that comment as the administration, just in the interest of time. But what would you do differently than has been done around affordable housing as people are struggling to make ends meet?
Yeah, so I want to just to address what Councilor Diaz said. So building takes time, right? These $10 million of investment happened back in 2024. You're not going to get over 100 units that HTC Mid-Atlantic is building just like that, right? $10 million went into organizations like SACA, HTC Mid-Atlantic, Tenfold, Housing Authority, Chestnut Housing. These are real projects that are happening right now in new and existing housing, but it takes time, right? And going back to, well, how do we fix that? It's streamlining the processes, right? You need a mayor that understands organizations and how to streamline process, how to implement technology, and how to manage people to make sure the projects get done. So yeah, you can get all the investment in the world. If you don't have someone that knows how to execute on that, you'll never get affordable housing, right? So that's what I'm excited to do as mayor. As councilor, we invested the dollars. As mayor, what I want to make sure is that those dollars go to good use, so the way folks can live in affordable housing, and it happens in a faster way.
Thank you. So, Councilwoman Diaz, that comes back to you. And again, the focus here is not the past. This question is, what would you do differently with your administration than has been done? But not about promises or other things. Just let's focus on what would you do that's different.
Well, like I mentioned before, I would work with those economic development and many of the properties that are at this time that are being flipped, obviously, with all these outside investors are not affordable for our community. We must stop the gentrification, and the only way to do this is to bring those that are going to provide and not talk about it, but act on it. We are hearing constantly. So as a mayor, I will definitely push policy, whether it's going to cap on increases of rent, because now we have home rule. This is the only way. We have to do for our community. Let's stop talking and let's start acting.
Thank you. We got a bevy of other questions to incorporate here now, but we're going to keep on time, folks. Promises are promises. So I'm going to move to a softball question. This is partly so I can focus on figuring this out, but I got a really nice question from the audience here, and I'm really excited about both of your answers, and that is, what defines a great leader? Councilwoman Diaz.
A great leader is going to listen to everyone, not just those elitists, not those big investors. 5.5 millionaires live in Lancaster. How about the rest of the community? Those that are suffering, those that are homeless or unhoused, as some people say. You got to listen to every person. Those with mental health. As a great leader, I have sat with people in the street that were homeless, trying to find everything I can and all the resources to help them. And I've also sat at the table where Biden and also the Vice President Harris, I went to her house. So I can sit with anyone in our community and talk about the issues that we have. I'm very proud to bring 80 beds for the homeless in Lancaster. And that's how I show that I care about my community and I love my community. This is what leadership is, talking to everyone, whether they like you or whether they don't like you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman.
I think what makes a good leader is whether or not you can trust them, right? When you think about the mayor, when you think about city councilors, you look at character, you look at whether or not they're empathetic, right? Do they understand where you're coming from? Are they authentic? When they come to you, do you feel that there's no hidden agenda behind their answers, right? And then the third thing that's super important is good judgment. At the end of the day, on May 20th, our residents are going to vote for a mayor that they feel that they can have good judgment and that they're logical and that they can make good decisions based on behalf of all residents of Lancaster City. So when it comes to being a good leader, I think it's trust. Can you trust the person in that leadership position?
Thank you. So, the question I'm going to put together on this next one is a group of questions that you, the audience, have had variations on the theme around homelessness specifically. So we've talked a lot about people who have housing, and we've talked sort of aside about homelessness. I want to ask directly about questions regarding those who are unhoused and your thinking on those. And I'm going to actually read this question because it comes from a resident, and I'm going to afterwards, I'm not going to name the person's name because I don't know if they feel comfortable with that, but I'm going to provide that name for you both afterwards in case it's something you want to follow up with. But the questions around housing, I think, really are helpful to talk about in this particular question. In June of last year, we lost the only low-barrier homeless shelter in the city for months. During that time, the police swept homeless residents out of city parks when there was no legal place to sleep. What was your position and what action did you take? And as a follow-up, city laws criminalize homelessness. What changes, if any, would you make if you were elected? And we will begin with, if you want to go ahead, Councilwoman Diaz. Sorry, forgot the last part of my job.
Well, definitely I believe that we need to decriminalize sweeping. Our community is hurting, and there's no way that we continually put our residents into the prison. And the reason I know is because I know a few workers in the prison and say these people do not belong in prison. These homeless or unhoused are human beings and they deserve the respect. The second thing I have put in my priority is to have pods. The city has property and we can buy pods. That'll be 50% less than what we're spending in shelters. This is a way to also increase the opportunity to house our homeless/unhoused. And yes, like I said, we must respect everyone, whether they are out in an encampment or if they're living in a penthouse.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, when we speak of our residents that are unhoused, it's important to make sure that we just have empathy to their situation, because it's a variety of issues that lead someone to fall on hard times, that they no longer have a roof over their head. One of the things one of the questions before is, what would I do differently? I don't know if it's something differently, but something I want to do more aggressively is advocating on a county-wide level on what are we doing to develop a strategy to combat this crisis, which it is a crisis, and it can't be just Lancaster City that fights for it by itself. It has to be other municipalities that are coming together to do that. Thank you. When it comes to helping our residents that are unhoused, housing first and foremost, if we can do a housing first policy right here in Lancaster City, that comes with resources, that has to be countywide, but putting a roof over people's heads should be first and foremost. The second thing is investing in wraparound services. As I mentioned, housing alone doesn't help the individual. It has to be access to healthcare, and that's a variety of different types of healthcare, whether it's mental, emotional, physical healthcare, so that way they have access to these resources, so that way they don't fall back on hard times.
Thank you. So, the next question, thank you, audience. You gave us some good questions here. This is one of my favorite ones. When I ran for mayor, one of the things I was surprised by was the lack of questions with regards to management. It was a lot about policy. But the job, and you've already said this, Councilman Arroyo, you're the head of a 600 staff organization, right? So when we think about this role, it's a management role. Pulling a couple of questions together here, you are sort of the head of the water authority. You're partnered with the parking authority. The question here really is, you'll be overseeing an organization that has millions of dollars to deploy. So not the budget, but the actual management of the city. You've got capital planning and expenses. You've got all of these types of things. What experience do you have when you are balancing, prioritizing ratepayers with the needs of infrastructure? How can you express what experience you have in managing budgets and how that would prepare you or has prepared you for the role of mayor? We'll go ahead with, Jimmy, you go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned about leadership that's important is, do you trust the person in leadership? And experience is a big part of that. One of the great privileges of my life is being able to serve as the CEO of Assets, a local nonprofit helping entrepreneurs start and grow businesses. Through there, I am deploying funds, and over the last couple of years, we've deployed almost $1 million in microloans and grants to women and BIPOC small business owners right here in Lancaster, which I'm super proud of. But using those resources effectively, making sure that we're hiring staff and paying them well, making sure that they have good benefits. I also served as the Chief Strategy Officer for Community pediatric partnership, an executive leadership role there, managing 300 employees and a $50 million budget across all of Lancaster County. So I feel more than ready to take on this position of managing close to 600 employees, multi-million-dollar budget, deploying these resources to do one thing, and that's making sure that our residents are getting the best services possible from their local government, including our water customers across the county, which Lancaster City serves 14 different municipalities through our water. So there's a lot riding on making sure we have good leadership in this position, and I have the experience to do that.
Thank you. Councilwoman Diaz, your response.
Well, I definitely am ready. For many out there don't know that I was a billing manager in a practice with 5 physicians. It's a very hard task, but I was able to provide all the things in order to work with the budget and also work with healthcare. And that's one thing that the city of Lancaster also needs to be looked at, is what type of healthcare they have. Another thing too is that I have been certified as a human resource representative now. So that is something that I was looking into and also would bring to City Hall. Not only that, one thing we do need to do is to delegate. As long as everybody is delegating for each department, and we're every week we would have a meeting to see what each department is doing. So like that, if there's any problems, they will be able to bring it so we can work with them right and immediately. So yes, I'm ready to be a manager. I have the skills, and I have more training in healthcare because I was also working in a healthcare insurance company. And of course, I was in the union, so I do know about contracts and all the things that we require in order for our laborers to have the right wages and also contracts.
Thank you. So, a little bit different, but still thinking about management and infrastructure and partners and those types of things. A couple of questions here are regarding sort of road conditions, roads that need fixed. But there's a specific nuance in multiple questions. Some giving me specific 200 block of South Answer. There's specific locations where the question isn't just about paving roads. It's where a contractor was supposed to come. I don't know if they're talking about UGI and utility, but someone was supposed to come to fix the roads, and they didn't come back. Yep. So it sounds like this is a definite thing for multiple people. So you're mayor. Like, it is the buck stops there type of situation. You've got contracts that say people are going to repair the roads X, Y, and Z. It doesn't happen. How are you going to make sure that those contracts are kept and that these roads that get opened up get filled back up? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Councilwoman Diaz.
I've run into that situation before, and I contacted Public Works and I said, this needs to be taken care of today. The person had to park in front of her house, but because they had a ditch open and they didn't cover it, she wasn't able to. I would take it under my wing and go out there if I have to myself to do the job and make sure that each department is taking care of these contractors. There's a lot of contractors that are not from Lancaster City.
That's right.
So we need contractors that are working for our community. Yep. So like that we can say to them, this needs to be taken care of right now.
That's right.
Go ahead, Councilman.
This is probably one of my favorite subjects because these are the things that matter, right? It's the things that are in your neighborhood when the streets aren't paved, the snow's not plowed. This is what residents really, really care about. We talked about officers being short-staffed, and something that gets overlooked are other city positions where we're short-staffed. Public Works is one of them. I think when there's contractors that aren't fulfilling their commitments, that is the job of the mayor to make sure that we're holding them accountable with that and making sure that they're either doing that or we have people in-house that can go and take care of that problem. And that starts with making sure that we're recruiting and retaining employees in the public works side of things to make sure that these projects are being completed.
Thank you. So I opened this up by saying there are folks in the room and folks in our community who can't vote, and that's because they may be different ages, they may be different citizens and those things. And I think this is an incredibly important question for our time. Considering the national landscape and the Republicans' tendency right now to sort of bulldoze their agenda, regardless of laws, norms, or processes. What is your strength as a bulwark to protect residents in this community? And obviously for me, I'm adding a little bit here, but we're thinking about ICE raids and those things. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about with regards to how are you protecting not just your voters, but the residents who make up Lancaster City. We'll go ahead with Councilman Neal. Sorry, Councilman Arroyo.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that as mayor is important is making sure that you're collaborating with various community stakeholders, right? And that's, you know, I had the privilege of working with CASA, a local immigration justice organization, around creating the Welcoming City Ordinance right here in Lancaster City to make sure that our police officers aren't asking for your documentation status when you're not violating state or federal law. So it's important to make sure that we're working with other municipalities to buy into this culture where it's not just the city of Lancaster, but working with community partners to make sure that everyone in Lancaster County is feeling safe. They look at the city as the leader and making sure that they feel protected. So a lot of that comes with collaboration on a county level, working directly with other municipalities, but then also other organizations in close partnership like CASA.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
As of now, I am currently working with one of the parishes, taking intakes for those immigrants that do not have any type of legal status. And it's extremely important for us to continue reviewing all the policies that our current, unfortunately, Trump president is following. We have to follow that, and we have to alert those in our community to have all their documents when they're out in the community. We need to speak with all those that have residents that are working in their establishment so they understand that there's a possibility that they will be raided. There's a lot of concerns, and I understand because my husband himself is an immigrant. Well, now he's a citizen, but I understand how hard it is to go through the process. So being part of the community and being part of those that I'm interviewing to help them understand what our policies would be. Now, the city, I had put out for everybody to contact the city, especially neighborhood engagement, and the mayor told me to take it down. So the fact is, as a mayor, I want to make sure that our community know that they can come to City Hall if there is an issue and if they're concerned about ICE coming to their residence or any businesses.
So we need to move on to the next section, but I want you just to understand some of the other topics that we won't be able to address, just so that you have an understanding of what this community was asking about. One of them has largely been addressed, but it is a question about improving communication and processes for residents. So we're not going to go there because I think we've already covered that to some degree. The other one is, and I'm going to ask this for you both just as a hand raise real quick, because we've talked about the issue, which is home rule, and you've talked extensively, but did you support home rule? Yes, raise your hand. No, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. So we have that answer. And then it partly does with the infrastructure, but I have a number of questions that have to do with street infrastructure and paving, but it's specifically asking about issues of speed and noise, and how you would address speed and noise. And I do want, if we can keep it really short, if you could answer the question about how you would address speeding. That is a huge safety issue. My kids go to King Elementary on Duke Street. There is no stop. It's awful. So if we can go ahead with Councilwoman Diaz, please address speeding briefly.
I think it's really important to possibly put yield signs or stop signs, or, and if not, those bumps. Those wonderful speed bumps really do a big job.
That we paid for, and they haven't done it yet.
So the city has a great plan called Vision Zero, and it's making sure that we continue to implement these safe practices. Every neighborhood is different, so whether you're like me, I live on North Lime Street, and it's a highway going down there. How can we work on converting some of those two-lane one-ways into two-ways to slow down traffic? As I mentioned before, it's making sure that we have, whether it's bike lanes or wider sidewalks, every neighborhood is different, but I'm looking forward to working with residents to come up with ideas so that way we can slow down traffic, make it safer for people to bike or walk, and making sure that folks feel safe in their community, other than speeding, but making sure they can cross the street safely and other ways as well.
Thank you. The last question in this section I want to ask This question was specifically addressed to Councilman Arroyo. However, I'm going to change it slightly so that it addresses both of you. The question was, Jamie Arroyo, you've been in charge of city finances in your role on city council, but both of you have been in roles where you have been part of how the budget in the city council is being managed. This individual says there's a significant issue with regards to how the city has been managed financially. And so why should we trust that you will do something different now as mayor that we haven't seen from your roles in city council? And Councilman, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, I served as chair of the finance committee for this is my second year now. I believe Councilor Diaz has actually served on the actual committee maybe for an entire tenure as a city councilor. But one of the things that I'm actually very proud of the way we've been managing our finances over the last few years. So I meet with the Director of Administrative Services on a monthly basis to make sure that we're reviewing what the budgets look like, how things are progressing. But one of the things I want to do when as mayor is that now I get to look behind the curtain. I'm actually making the decisions that's going to impact the finances. So that's going department by department and reviewing. Do we have the right resources? And are there some areas that maybe we're spending too much money on, right? And where can we save some money? So while home rule was a step in the right direction and it helps stabilize our finances, it doesn't mean that we don't look at opportunities to save on costs. So the thing that I would do different is that now I'm actually working within City Hall to look at making sure that we're being good stewards of those dollars.
Thank you. Councilwoman Diaz?
As I went through the budget, I realized that there's a lot of waste. There's contractors, there's consultants that we have doubled. We do not need to include a $2 million per quarter for these services. The second thing is we have to stop taking more bonds. After speaking to those that are on the National Infrastructure Bank, the microeconomist told me this city continues taking bond loans. It's just going to affect our community even more. When we multiply it within the 25 years, we're looking at $1 billion. Who's going to pay those $1 billion? Obviously, it's going to be the moderate to low income because we all know that LURA gets free interest free for those that are building homes, and also there's businesses that now with the home rule gets a really nice tax break. On top of that, we must have education for our community so they can see how these are being used. We cannot continue hurting our community by adding more stress and having more lose their homes.
Thank you. So I'm going to take one of those audience questions, and it's a yes and no. So it'll fit right into our lightning round that we're now entering into. So the lightning round is pretty simple. They're yes or no questions. Since we only have one microphone, I'm just going to have you raise your hands for yes and say yes. And if you don't raise your hand, we'll clarify that it was a no. So this one's a fun one. This is the audience question. Have you used artificial intelligence to generate any of your campaign information on Facebook or mailers or any other of your communications? Have you used artificial intelligence? Yes, raise your hand.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Have you not? We have not. All right. This is a long one, so sorry. It's still a yes or no question, but it's a long question. In reviewing the financial incentives the city gives out, such as tax breaks or subsidies for developers, businesses, or institutions in the name of economic development, would you support a full report or audit looking at who received these incentives, how much was given up in taxes, whether those incentives actually delivered on their promises like affordable housing, job creation, local hiring, whether the programs are equitable and transparent? Do you support a full audit on the incentives that have been done in the past administration? Yes, yes. In light of the response at the city council debate, where it was said rent control is under state and is a state issue, after looking into that, it is not a state issue but a municipal issue. They can create an ordinance. Would you be willing to revisit rent control? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. I know for a fact that it's because, Yeah, so yes, you would visit it. Both of you said yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do you believe gentrification is currently a problem in Lancaster City? Yes? Thank you. Lancaster has never had a person of color as chief of staff. If elected, would you look to appoint a person of color as chief of staff? Yes? No? Do you need 10 seconds to, if you can, this section actually gives like a 10-second gap. I'm trying to cut it out for time, but if you need to say something, just real quick.
Yeah, I haven't thought about who I'm going to hire in different director positions, so that just seems like a weird question to put out for that. Now, will I want to have a pool of diverse applicants? Absolutely.
Okay, so you will not commit to that particular position, chief of staff. Okay.
Happy to explore it, absolutely.
Okay, there you go. So it's not a yes, it's not a no. Should new developments that receive public tax breaks be required to include affordable housing? Should new developments, so yes? Yes. So new developments should receive, if you receive a tax break, should include affordable housing. Should the city track and publicly report eviction data? Yes?
Eviction data?
Eviction data, yes. Do you support the creation of a civilian oversight board for the Lancaster Police Department? Yes, raise your hand. No, raise your hand. Yes? You were in?
Do I get my 10 seconds?
I'm just saying, the questions are yes or no. If you want to take time, it's a reflection on how you respond to the question.
Well, I think
if you want 10 seconds, you can have 10 seconds.
Part of the process is in 10 seconds, so the answer is no, but I'm happy to explore it. The reason why is there's different types of civilian review boards, some with authority, some without. So depending on what the civilian review board can do,
at this moment is no. At this moment is no. Would you support creating more formal roles for neighborhood groups and resident councils in the city? Yes. All right, yes or no. Would you commit to holding regular town halls in every neighborhood of the city? Yes. Do you believe the city budget should be participatory, allowing residents to vote on how a portion of the funds are spent? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Do you support your choice? Do you support setting aside city funds specifically for community-led projects or neighborhood initiatives? Yes. Would you commit to including resident voices early in city planning processes, not just during the final approvals or public comment stage? Yes. Transparency in city spending. Would you commit to making a full publicly accessible breakdown of city contracts, making it easy for the public to see who the city is doing business with, including contractors, consultants, service providers, how much the city is paying them, what services are good they're providing, whether these vendors are local, minority-owned, women-owned businesses? There's a lot of question. Yes. All right. Thank you. So we're about to move into the closing statements, but there was one question that is, I've got enough time to do this. We've got one question that was semi-relevant, and I say that because city government has different roles. The school board is not part of your mandate. And so there's a couple school board questions, but I think it's still helpful to ask this one, which is, what are some ways the city and school district of Lancaster could work together? What's your vision for collaborating with partners of STL? Since we have some directors, candidates in here, I think this is an important one for you both to take, let's say, 60 seconds each to be able to answer how you would envision working with the school district. Go ahead.
I believe that it would be great, especially after the incident with the bikes, arrest of teenagers, that we would have, I would say, forums at the schools so we can teach our children the safety, where it's lighting or reflectors, and making them understand that it's very dangerous. I mean, we continually see kids driving the opposite direction of traffic that's causing incidents where they have been struck, or situations where the driver actually hits a building. So I think that would be a great way to educate our community and our children.
Thank Thank you. Councilman?
I think a great opportunity for collaboration, I mentioned earlier a little bit, is around civic engagement and workforce development. Too many of our graduates that go through the school district of Lancaster see opportunity outside of Lancaster City. I want to work with the school district to figure out how do we keep them here. So whether that's jobs at City Hall, jobs at our community partners, or making sure that they're able to see that Lancaster City is a place where they can build a business, raise a family, and that there's a lot of opportunity right here in Lancaster City, and they don't have to leave in order to find that. So again, civic engagement, one that we're working on now, but we could do a better job in, and then 2, workforce development opportunities.
Thank you. So we're about to do closing statements, and I want to thank you all for hanging in there. We are pretty much on time. There was I think you all did really well being respectful to one another, and I thank you for that. There is one other earlier audience question, which was basically, I think it's important for the times, and I think you all have done well here today, but the question was, how do we work as a community to all be together, to see one another as humans, as fellow individuals in the community? How do we, I'd love to hear how you think we de-escalate these contentious times. We'll go ahead, 30 seconds, and go ahead, Councilman Moran.
Well, that's a fun question because it's more important now than ever. I think it starts with conversation. How do we talk to our neighbors? I think one of the beauties about Lancaster City is that we live in a very small and dense town, but we get to know our neighbors. We get to walk the streets and know the business owners. We get to know who our teachers are, and I think the more that we can have conversations with different people across our community, the more we get to understand each other and the more that we can help make our city better.
Thank you. Councilwoman Diaz?
I think the opportunity of having everyone together, whether it's putting a park together, having some projects, maybe working with the park, the Longs Park, and having the kids come out and feed the animals and show them how to build things. And also, I think it's really important for us to have fun events, block parties, which a lot of people love and enjoy. I think that's the way to communicate with our community in each sector of the city.
Thank you. All right, now we are at closing statements. 1 minute each. We have for both of you to have your closing statements, and it has been a while. I forget who went first on opening statements. Councilor Diaz. So we'll flip that, and Jim, if you want to go first, 1 minute for your closing statement. Thank you.
First, I want to thank everyone again for spending your Saturday afternoon here. It's a privilege to be able to share, hopefully, what my vision is for Lancaster City and the way that Lancaster City can build in the right direction. I'm a city kid, again, born in Puerto Rico, Lancaster City raised. I decided to raise my family here. I want to give a shout out to my wife and my son, who's been excellent, because you haven't heard one beep out of him today. But I want to help solve some of our biggest challenges, but also want to make sure that Lancaster City is a vibrant place. And on May 20th, it comes down to who do you trust to lead an organization that's going to make that happen. Who's going to lead 600 employees to provide the best services? Who's going to work collaboratively with other elected officials and community partners to solve some of today's pressing issues? And I'm up for it. I'm looking forward to the job, and I look forward to working with all of you for many years to come. Thank you.
Councilwoman Diaz, your 1 minute closing.
I want to thank everybody that came out, especially those that are supporting me. I think one of the things that I'm very concerned about is the overdoses in our city, the safety of our community, of those selling drugs around our children. So many parks have found where we have needles that are also affecting. These are the things that I'm concerned about. We're concerned about the homeless and working to have an established area where they're able to sustain themselves. These are the important questions. Those that are not able to be able to live in our city because they can't afford it. That's what I want to target as a mayor. The reality and the true things that are happening. That's what's important for Lancaster. And as a mayor, I'm going to work for everyone, especially those in need.
So thank you all for being here. I do want to mention also, I see President Rivera. Thank you for hosting us here, providing this beautiful space for us to have this event. Again, thank you to the organizers, and I'm going to have Paul Hooper come up here to close us out. Thank you all for your time and your attention and the honor of being able to serve as your moderator.
Okay, as we sit here in these hard bleachers, we'll stop here. But as we close today with this mayor's meeting, it's great that we can reflect on the critical issues that were spoken about today. The concerns, budgetary concerns, some of the home rule charter, and a host of other things. They represent the future of Lancaster and the values that we hold dear as a community. Thank you to the candidates for sharing their vision, and everyone here for engaging in this vital conversation. Together, we have the power to move Lancaster and change Lancaster's future. So at this time, I'd like to bring up somebody that's going to speak a little bit about some of our activities as we move forward.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pastor Byam-Brown. I am the Pastoral Services Director at Lancaster Rehabilitation Center, which was Conestoga View. And we have a brand new program, and since COVID, things are really stepping up over there. And next Friday, May 2nd, we are having one of the first Embracing the Life of Convalescents symposiums, and we'll be talking about presentations will be made about Social Security, why we have it in this country and what it does, about the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. We'll be talking a lot about palliative care and hospice and end-of-life issues, and we'll be talking about how the community can get involved and get prepared for convalescent life, whether it's for family members or yourself. I mean, this is very, very important. So it's going to be a brunch. It's going to be from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and the brunch is absolutely free. So if you come, you can eat, you can get information, and you can hear good presentations. God bless.
So thank you again to everyone for coming. Thank you to our candidates Just one last round of applause. Reminder, election is on May 20th. Please make sure you register to vote. We're always doing the picture over here if you need voter registration. But we are glad to have you here. Have a great day. Yeah, I know. That's why I was feeling.
Because you mentioned Conestoga View.
Yeah.
Because I did 28 years in Conestoga.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the pastoral services director.
What is the name of the place now?
It's called Lancaster Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Okay?
Yes.
I might want to tell Jane the website that people can see this on, because she's the newspaper reporter.
Okay.
And maybe TV.
I don't have that information. I'm gonna have to upload it.
Okay.
But they can.
They'll be able to see it. He's going to upload it.
You can.
I can call you and give it to you.
And you can. Let me give you my card.
Yeah, you can call
And
him.
they can go. Can you just use that?
Do what?
They can go to my page.
Is it on the card here?
My page is here.
It was good.
I've seen worse, don't worry.
Is that enough?
Yeah. That's enough.
Thank you.